and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass, live in living color here on YouTube Live. It's good to be back. It's good to open the gates of the graveyard, ladies and gentlemen. How are we doing today? I hope we're all doing Gucci. I started a little bit later than I wanted. I'm a little bit under the weather. Haven't been feeling the greatest. Haven't been feeling 100% myself. But I was like, yo, nothing's going to stop me of doing the graveyard today, man. Nothing's going to stop me from talking all things horror on my favorite horror talk show there is. Obviously, it's mine, so I'm a little bit biased there. But, you get the gist of it. Yeah, so this episode in particular, though, this is really a kind of a long time in the making. Like, I've wanted to talk about this specific filmmaker for pretty much since I started this show, and I feel like it's a crime that it take until season 3 to finally get an episode in on this guy because I think for what my money's worth, I think he's arguably, if not the greatest horror film director in the history of the genre, and that's Mr. Dario Argento. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to do like a career retrospective. I didn't know if I wanted to do exactly what I am going to do, which is the Three Mothers trilogy review. I didn't know if I wanted to do like a top 10 video or top 15 video, like counting down my favorite Argento films and ranking them and stuff. I may do that one day. I may do a career retrospective one day. Like neither one of those things, in my opinion, are like beyond the realm of possibility. I'd definitely be down to do them if I had the time and stuff like that. Those will definitely be longer than this one because I'm only really going in depth on the Three Mothers trilogy movies. And I was just like, you know what, like let's get this shit, man. Like I wanted to talk all things Argento, and I'm gonna do that today on the show. My Mr. Ryan Snyder, what's up, buddy? How are you? It's good to see your name. I haven't seen you in a while, man. I haven't talked to you in a while. How's everything going? I hope good. You see anything good lately? I'm sure you watch more, almost more, probably more than me, man. You probably watch more than me. Um, I've been preparing for the show, so I've been watching like almost Argento like every other night, trying to watch an Argento film, and just to get myself in the mood and in the spirit of Mr. Argento and his films and stuff like that. Yeah, so I figured I'd get into a little bit of my history with the filmmaker and why I really enjoy Argento's work as a whole. Because I mean, I'm a mark for the guy. I think his films, most of his films are really, really great to, good to really, really great. He doesn't have too many below average films. Like I know like Dracula and The Phantom of the Opera from the 90s, that's a bad one. But as many bad, I mean, there's not nearly as many bad as there is good. So, I mean, that's at the end of the day, he's got a really proven track record and way more classics than he does duds. And I actually got this for Christmas in the mail. This is one of my favorite, probably my second favorite Argento film that there is, and that is Dario Argento's Deep Red. I'm sorry about the glare. This is a horrible glare here. But this is the Arrow release. I absolutely love this movie. I rewatched this movie a couple nights ago. Just absolutely entranced by it, man. I thought it was fantastic. Um, it's one of those movies that really, like, if you're not too familiar with Argento's work and you're not like the biggest fan of the guy or anything like that, this is definitely one to start with. I think it's a really, really good giallo. I would say the best giallo film ever made, in my humble opinion. I love this movie. Deep Red is fantastic. Just the score, the cinematography, really good acting, good story, good plot. Like everything in this movie works, I think, and it's classic Argento. It's gorgeous too on this transfer, man. Um, Arrow did a great job restoring this movie. It looks fantastic, and love the artwork on the cover too. This is just badass artwork, man. I love it. Couple more comments. Devin Hurd, hey, what's up, buddy? How are you? Popping in for a few seconds on my break. Nice, thank you for popping in. I appreciate it. I'm at work till 6. I did Hellboy 2019 the other night, and it's not good. Yeah, it looked like shit. It looked like one of those like CGI fest films. So I don't know. I had no. If it's not Ron Perlman, Guillermo del Toro, I'm not watching Hellboy. That's kind of how I feel about that. But yeah, getting back more into more Argento stuff, like, I believe Deep Red was the first one I ever saw years and years ago, and I was just, like, totally entranced by the film, and that kinda got me into, the first movie I'll review on the show is Suspiria. I mean, this is his absolute magnum opus, a masterpiece of a horror film, and I just love this movie. And like I don't own all Argento's films, but man, like I just like I'd be remiss to say I don't want to talk about all of them someday. But I also love this one, Tenebrae. I think Tenebrae is fucking fantastic. Really, really good return to the giallo genre for Argento, and a movie that I like blew me away. I didn't expect this to be as good as it was, and it's fantastic. It's arguably the best video nasty out there. That's on the famous 72, film title banned list. I mean, this movie it's right towards the top of the list. It's like up there with like Cannibal Holocaust and Evil Dead. It's right up there with those two. I think was the best video nasty films. Absolutely love Tenebrae, and I believe was it Synapse that put, yeah, it was Synapse that put this out. It looks fucking unreal on Blu-ray. I highly recommend this Blu-ray. It's amazing. And then another one of the movies that kind of broke me into why I love Argento, I actually have as well. It's Dario Argento's Opera, which I think is a fucking masterpiece of a slasher film. I love it. Basically tells the story of this understudy girl, and she's like, one night the person who's supposed to star in the opera gets hit by a car and she can't go, so the understudy fills in, and she pretty much encounters a crazy ass stalker who likes to tie her up, tape needles under her eyes, and make her watch the deaths of all her friends and stuff while she can't close her eyes because the needles are there. Super goddamn dark, man. But I love this movie. I got to get this poster one day because that is like one of my favorite artworks in the history of the genre. I know the glare is a little bit bad, but you could see the needles under her eyes, man. I mean, it's just awesome stuff. I know they released a Blu-ray of this not too long back. I definitely want to upgrade because I love this DVD, but one thing I've learned with Argento, you want all his movies on Blu-ray. Like his movies are not about the gritty, grimy look to them. They're all beautiful looking. So you really want to see them in the highest of quality, highest of depth. And Argento's films, yeah, definitely. Like I want to get them all on Blu-ray someday, if it's possible. I know one of these, Mother of Tears, which I'll be talking about. That's the final film of the Three Mothers trilogy. I can't find a Blu-ray of this anywhere. I don't know. I think there's like a three Blu-ray set, but it's overseas of Mother of Tears, Suspiria, and Inferno. But unfortunately, I've never been able to like get my hands on it, and I don't have a region-free player, so I don't know. But I would love if anybody knows how to get Mother of Tears on Blu-ray. I would really highly appreciate it because I would get it in a second. I don't care what it costs because I spent stupid money for that DVD unrated, and I was very pleased with it. So I'd love to see the Blu-ray transfer because I couldn't imagine how good it would look. It looks good on DVD, but Blu-ray high def, man, it would look unreal, man. So, but yeah, that's also Opera. Love Opera. I think it's fantastic. Other films from him, I don't own these ones, but Phenomena, a really, really awesome little creative horror movie with Jennifer Connelly in the lead, where she's kind of communicating with these insects and tracking down a killer at the same time. And it's got this awesome heavy metal soundtrack. And man, I love that movie. I think it's great. Donald Pleasance is in it, and he's got this like wild chimpanzee that is with him. And I don't know, man. I love to see Jennifer Connelly in the lead of an Argento film. It's right around the time she did Labyrinth, so it's like prime Jennifer Connelly doing movies like Labyrinth and movies like Phenomena, and it just has a wild finale. I love that movie. That's probably in my top three Argento films. I love Phenomena. I think it's great. And he's one of those filmmakers, I think, as a whole, like before we get into this, because I'm just like running through some of the ones in his career that I really like. He's one of those guys as a whole that I think it took him a while to get to the point where I felt Romero hit the wall first, and maybe a Carpenter hit the wall first. Like if you look at Romero's films post Day of the Dead, I don't feel like any of those movies post Day of the Dead really live up to his entire filmography as a whole. With Argento, I really don't think that happened until maybe some of the early 2000 films, but he had, I think, a rebirth with Mother of Tears. And then movies like Giallo and uh, Dracula 3D, those are really where you get into the bad or like the worst Argento films. Like it took him a while to really lose it as a filmmaker. And I know a lot of people think he lost it longer than I did, or longer before I did, I should say. But I don't know. I kind of beg to differ. I think he's made some uh, really sweet movies. And I just wanted to, give him props as a director because, without movies like Deep Red, Suspiria, Tenebrae, Phenomena, Opera, these are some of my favorite movies in the history of the genre and the history of the movies that I watch. Like, I just love his movies. I think his movies are really, really well done. And that's why I wanted to kind of tribute him today and discuss the Three Mothers trilogy. And also, they actually have some breaking news that happened last night that I have about Mr. Argento, but I'll read some of the comments first. True Horror Fanatic Reviews, what's up, man? How are you? Good to have you here. Going on break. Ryan will be back. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, I wanted to get into this Three Mothers trilogy, but I had some crazy breaking news last night. Like minutes after I posted my Instagram post promoting this episode of The Graveyard, I actually saw the breaking news that Argento and Asia Argento are going to be coming back to make a new slasher movie, giallo movie, if you will, called Black Glasses. And it's going to be shot, I think, this year and then hopefully released by 2021. So I'm really excited about that, man. Like Argento, Dario Argento reuniting with his daughter Aja, who I really like the two together. I love movies like Trauma, movies like the Stenhall Syndrome, which I watched, a couple nights ago, and I was just totally fucking entranced by that movie. I think it's phenomenal. I know a lot of people don't get into those two. Like people say Trauma's slow, and people say Stenhall Syndrome has a lot of bad CGI and stuff, and it does. Stenhall Syndrome does have some bad CGI. I can't lie. Like that's a movie I can't defend the CGI effects. But other than that, I think it's a beautiful film, and I love the scenes where Asia Argento is walking through the paintings and imagining herself under these beautiful waterfalls. I mean, that's textbook Argento. And I don't know. I'm always kind of drawn to his films. He always has something that kind of draws me in. And most horror films, most horror filmmakers, it's that thing is usually the plot. But with Argento, I don't think it really ever was. And there are very few Argento films where the plot is what draws you in. Maybe Phenomena, maybe that's the one where the plot is really really good, but overall, man, it's all through visuals, good music, good cinematography, and I don't know, man, like his movies are just entrancing. So I'm excited for Black Glasses in 2020, or Dark Glass, whatever the hell it was called. I know that Dracula 3D was bad. I know Giallo from 2009 was bad, and I know that he's probably lost a few steps as a filmmaker. I'm not ashamed to admit that. However, if someone had said, "Oh, well, you could get a brand new George Romero film," I would take it. I know Survival of the Dead wasn't the greatest, but if the guy was still with us and still making movies, I'd still see them. I don't know. I guess it's the loyalty, maybe to a fault even, but I love me some Argento, so I'm excited he's going to be making a new movie with Asia. I think that's really cool to bring the Scream Queen and Scream King back together one last time. It's going to be badass. I'm excited. Even if it, probably won't get the greatest reviews or the greatest hype, but I'll be hyped for it. I'd rather see it than anything Blumhouse is putting out. That's just me though. But yeah, we're about 14 minutes in, so I guess we can get into the featured reviews here. The featured trilogy of the evening, the Three Mothers trilogy. And I gotta say, man, as a whole, I really love this trilogy. I think it's one of the great trilogies in the history of the genre. And it all started in 1977. It all started with a little horror movie a little horror movie called Suspiria. One of the best horror movies of all time. Definitely, if it's not in my top 10, it's right there. It's top 15, definitely. A movie that I can't get over how stunning it is, how gorgeous it is, how scary that it is, how really well acted that it is in spots. And I don't know, man. Personally, I think this is horror movie perfection right here. And I know that a lot of people would probably agree, but uh, there's just something about this movie that always kind of draws me to it as well, like with most of Argento's films. And it basically tells the story of Jessica Harper's character who plays Susie Banyan, and she's going to Germany to join this dance academy. And slowly but surely, she realizes that things are not what they seem, and witches are brought into it. It's basically this whole witch coven that runs this dance ballet studio, and she's trying to uncover what's going on and stuff like that. And throughout the movie, man, you just get some gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cinematography of Susie Banyan walking in the hallway and her friends late night walking the hallway, and all these different vibrant colors of, you get greens, you get blues, you get reds, yellows, magentas, you get all these gorgeous colors of these characters walking throughout this school academy, looking frightened, looking scared, looking unsure. And that's a really, really great thing about this movie. Like, that's the thing that always got me with this. Like, I remember when was a little kid, I didn't really understand the story or where it was going, direction of the film. However, what I was able to, you know, keep watching was the beauty of the film. It's one of those movies that it almost calls you to it. And the Great Goblin score, I love that score, man. It's like the lullaby score. Do 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 do. It's so creepy, man. As the film opens, that's the what's playing, and Susie Banyan's walking to the airport, and every time the doors open, you hear the score. Every time the doors close, you have the score cut off. And I was like, damn, like that's creepy. Like immediately I'm invested, I'm involved. And she walks out into the middle of this rainstorm trying to catch a cab. And a few of them are passing her by. It's almost like a bad dream, and that lullaby score really adds to the bad dream feel of it. And, you know, I've heard John Carpenter say this, and I totally agree with John Carpenter on this. He said, immediately 5 minutes in, I'm terrified and I'm invested, and I don't know why, but it's so damn terrifying. And I agree. I think it's just so simple, yet it's so effective. And like you'll find in all three of these movies, you get such good, beautiful murder sequences where in this film, the opening kills are so fucking well done. You have this one girl, she wants to leave the school, and she's kind of packing her things up quickly, and she's yelling at this lady. She's like, I need to get out of here. I need to leave right here and now. I need to leave right here and now. And the other lady's pleading with her, please, stay. Like, what are you gonna gain by leaving? And she's packing up her things, and all of a sudden she sees these big, bright yellow eyes appear in her window. And she kind of walks forward, and then a hand just grabs her and it's pulling her hair and stuff. And you're like, oh my gosh. And the other lady's trying to get through the door and help her. She's, oh, let me in, let me in. This, one thing leads to another. One girl gets hung and crashes through this plane of really colorful glass. She gets hung like this, blood dripping from her mouth, blood dripping from everywhere, her toes even. And the other lady who was trying to help her gets impaled by the glass that falls. And as Argento does this kind of fadeaway shot coming from where the hung body is down to the floor, it was in that moment that I was just like, wow, like this, we are in for a damn treat. Like, I knew right away, even when I was a little kid, I was like, holy fucking shit. Like, that's how you start your film, that creepy shot of her walking out of the airport with that great goblin score. And then bam, right off the bat, you get a crazy ass murder sequence with a lot of gorgeousness to it. And that's why I think this movie has stood the test of time, is because it's not just kills for the sake of it. It's not just kills that, are throwaway or just violent, or, there are plenty of violent kills that stand the test of time. I'm not trying to say they don't, but it's the fact that these kills are so beautiful. It's the fact that something so morbid is portrayed in a light of such beauty. And like that's why I love Argento's films, man. And I can't stress that enough. I think it's so gorgeous to watch. I love the scene. There's a scene where this girl, she's expecting, that the worst is going to happen, and she's walking through the hallway, and then she starts getting chased into this attic where the whole lighting of the attic is just this beautiful, like, dark blue color. And I love that stuff. And the person is trying to get in there with like a switchblade, trying to pick the lock. And she's quickly trying to escape, get out of there. And she goes to this other room. She thinks she's clear. She takes one bad step and falls into a pit of barbed wire. And man, it's just so damn scary and so well done as this girl, like, because you think she's in the clear, man. You think, all right, this girl, she's out of there. She's gonna survive everything this like this. Nope, bam, slips right into this goddamn pit of barbed wire, man. And I thought that was so scary. Like, what a way to go out. Like, you think she's escaped this crazy killer. We're all set, we're gonna see what happens the next day, and then nope, falls right into a pit of barbed wire, man, and boom, she's knocked off. I just like it's kind of surprising like that, like surprising kills like that I really, really like about this one. And, there's tons of awesome other kills in this movie. There's the scene with the blind guy who has his dog with him, and his dog is like leading him or whatever, and you just hear all these crazy sounds, and he's kind of looking, trying to sense where the sounds are coming from, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, his dog jumps up and bites his throat out. And like it's just like holy shit, like it's so out of left field, but I don't know, man. Like I thought it was really, really cool that scene. I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I did not see that coming at all. I thought, like, because you think there's like a crow or something, or a witch that's out there, or a killer that's out there. Like, that's what I'm waiting on. And the next thing I know, this dog just is like, "Hell no!" Jumps up, bites this dude's throat out. And I was like, "Damn!" Like, that's some crazy ass shit, man. Um, there's also, other than the beautiful death scenes, which I know I'm gushing over. I can't really help it. It's one of my favorite trilogies, and this is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is definitely, and I will preface by saying, this is the best movie of the trilogy by a mile, I would say. But what I love about some of the other scenes in it is the scenes where they find these maggots in the attic, and they're kind of dripping onto these girls and their hairbrushes, and as they're brushing their hair and stuff like that. I love that. I think that's great because they use real maggots, and it's disgusting to watch as a viewer. I actually watched this with my good buddy Connor and my good buddy Ryan a couple of weeks ago, and they were like, oh man, that's real maggots they were brushing their hair with and stuff. And I'm like, in the days before CGI, that's the shit they did, real horrifying stuff. And like, that's one of the reasons that I think this movie's authenticity has really stood the test of time too. And I love that after the attic incident, the girls they're all like scattered to the ground floor, and they put up this sheet between them and the teachers of the school. And you get this beautiful fucking red tint as the girls kind of lay awake at night and talk about what they think, like theories of what they think what's going on in the school, and who's a witch, is she a witch, what's going on, all these things. And another thing that I always was fascinated about was, and I think this was Argento's original intention, at least that's what I've read, is that the original intention for this film was for it to be all like younger girls, like even younger than they are in this movie. They were going to be like 10, 11 years old young. And a lot of the dialogue remains the same because most of it sounds like childish dialogue. And that's honestly because it was originally intended to have children as the stars of the film. So it almost has an innocence, like a child's innocence to it when they're discussing these things. I think she's a witch, and it's just, I don't know, it's the way it's delivered. And it gives you kind of that surreal element where I would say the thing that sets this one apart is the surreal element. It is such a surreal element to it, like even more so than Inferno and Mother of Tears. Like I love that surreal element because you're never quite sure of anything. You're never quite sure of what is coming next. You fear what's coming next, but you're never quite sure of what is to come next. And that's why this movie is an absolute fucking masterpiece. I love it. Love everything about it. Of course, I would be remiss to not discuss the final act of the film where Joan Bennett, which is like she's like the head of all these people. This was actually Joan Bennett's last film. She was like a big Hollywood veteran, and I always really liked her. I believe she was in. I want to say Father of the Bride, but I'm not positive. I thought that was Joan. I could be wrong. But Joan Bennett did a ton of movies back in the 40s, 50s, and stuff. Really good veteran actress. She kind of plays the lead dance instructor of this academy. And she and all her other, workers or witches or whatever, they're in the attic. Well, not in the attic, but they're on the top floor and they're talking about killing Susie Bannion as Susie Bannion kind of slowly but surely makes her way to the room where they're in. And I don't know, man, like some of the gorgeous shots that you get, I think are legendary and I think will forever be remembered. And I remember taking a film class back in high school, like senior year of high school. And we had this like cinematography book, and like the first chapter mentions the cinematography from the final act of this movie. And if that's not the highest of praise, like to see that actual, cinematography textbook mentions your movie in the very first chapter, I was like, now this is what it's all about, man. This is because I had seen the movie and I was like, wow, like now we're going to be learning about the movie and the gorgeousness of the movie. And I was just so excited. And there are scenes where Susie Bannion, and probably my favorite shot of the movie is where she walks past this curtain, and for a second it's a room of blue. And there's a frightened, disturbed look on her face as she's in this room briefly, and she hears the faint lullaby score behind her, or ahead of her, I should say. She hears it, and when I watched this for the first time on Synapse Blu-ray, done by the great Don May Jr., I had to pause the movie. I swear to you, I had to pause the movie because I realized at that moment what I was watching was perfection. And what I was watching was one of those things that is so hard to recapture. It's that scene where I watched, it's a simple scene. And I'll get into in Mother of Tears, I think this scene is almost reborn. And it's almost done as just as good, if not better, in that movie. But it's that at that moment where I paused this movie and I was like, wow, like this is stunning, man. Like it really got me. Like I don't know why. It's that beautiful shot of her in that blue curtained room. And she pulls the curtain back and you hear the score get a little bit louder as she walks down a yellow hallway. Just grade A stuff, man. It really is grade A, top notch horror. And there's this crazy finale of her versus Mother Suspiriorum and the Mother of Sighs, obviously. And she stabs Mother Suspiriorum in the neck, and her friend comes back as like this crazy, demented person with all this blood running down her eyes, and the laugh and ha 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 ha, and running at Susie Bannion. Just crazy, scary stuff, man. Like it's one of the scariest like horror movie charges you ever get. Like you're just like, oh shit, like this bitch just charges Susie Bannion. And one way or another, Susie Bannion's able to burn the academy down, escape just in the nick of time. And I love the final shot of her walking away after she's ran. She gets out, she turns around, it starts to rain. She kind of does this with her and she starts laughing and walks past the camera. And we get, instead of like, credits or whatever, you get this first credit says, "You have been watching Suspiria." I love that because they're basically saying you've been watching an experience. You've been watching an experience in fear. And this isn't just a movie, this is an experience. And like that's the reason I've always loved this movie and I've always thought that this movie will stand the test of time and why I think this is one of Argento's best films, if not his best. To me, it's always between I know I sound like a broken record. It's always between these two. It's always between Deep Red and Suspiria, which one I like more. It's funny, like I always say, if I watch Suspiria, I'll tell you Suspiria. But if I watch Deep Red, I'll be like, that Deep Red movie, man. I don't know. Maybe it is better than Suspiria. Like it's so hard for me to put one over the other because I think they're both 10 out of 10 movies. I will say that. I definitely like unequivocally think they are both perfect horror films. And I think Phenomena is right there too. I like Phenomena is like very close to being a 10 out of 10 for me, if it isn't. That's one I really want to review on the show one day. But yeah, man, that is Suspiria. I can't give it higher praise than I have. I really, really can't. I have no flaws with the movie. I think it's perfect. I think it's horror movie perfection. I really, again, I would like to thank Dame Jr. for restoring this movie. I know it took him years to make this movie look the way how good the transfer looks on Blu-ray, and I will say that this is the best transfer horror movie I have on Blu-ray. Like judging the transfer sound, everything, like overall from DVD to Blu-ray upgrade, this is the best DVD to Blu-ray upgrade I have in my collection, and I cherish it, man. It's definitely a top five movie I own, for sure. I love Dario Argento's Suspiria, absolute all-time classic. Proud to own it. Very proud to own it. Let's get to. Oh, there is no comments. Okay, well, cheers to that. Mm. Oh man, I'm sorry. I need a little something to drink. Like I said, I'm a little bit under the weather, but that movie absolutely set the world on fire. Did really well in the box office, and there was just something about it that kept people coming back to it. And Argento was like coming off making giallo films, like the Three Animals trilogy, Cat o' Nine Tails, Four Flies on Gray Velvet, Bird with the Crystal Plumage that started it all. Like those three movies. Then he made Deep Red, and then this was like the start of his new trilogy and Suspiria. And then you got in 1980 Dario Argento's Inferno. I hate not holding something up, by the way. I don't own this one, unfortunately. I did watch it very, very recently on Amazon Prime, maybe 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, and now it's off Prime. I actually checked last night because I wanted to rewatch a scene from the movie, but it is not on Prime anymore. So I'm going to have to buy that sucker on Blu ray, which I have no problem doing because I love Inferno too. But getting into Dario Argento's Inferno from 1980. Right off the bat, I have to say that I've watched a lot of videos talking about the film lately. I just wanted to see other people's opinions. I'm not big into analysis videos or people trying to explain shit to me. I've noticed that a lot of people always say that this isn't as good as Suspiria, and I don't know of anybody that thinks it's better than Suspiria. If you do, I would love to know why. Um, but I've done a lot of research too, and apparently Argento considers this to be one of his weakest films he ever did. And that really surprised me. But I went on to find out that Argento was actually got very deathly ill during the making of this movie. So I think hepatitis or something like that. So he wasn't on set for over a week at one point for this film. So apparently, I'm not positive of this, but this is what the rumor is. Mario Bava, on the last film he ever worked on, actually stepped in directing second unit and took over the film, took the reins of the film for over a week. Now, I don't know of the truth of that. That is what I've read. I'm pretty sure that is, at least a variant of what actually happened with Inferno. But I gotta say too, man, I don't know if I love this one as much as the movies I've mentioned already. Like I obviously it's not on the level of Suspiria. But I don't know if I'd really put it above Opera or Tenebrae or even the Stenhall syndrome. Like I don't know. Like okay, maybe it's better than the Stenhall syndrome. But like okay, it's one of those polarizing movies for me because I do love it and I do give it a good score and everything. But I think it's almost, at times, a little too much style over substance in a lot of respects, and I know a lot of people go, "Well, that's Argento," and I agree, that is Argento. He's never a big story guy, but I think what the difference is, with Suspiria, you get some of the Three Mothers lore, like, towards the end of the film, you have Udo Kier in a scene, and he's discussing the Three Mothers, the Mother of Sighs, the Mother of Darkness, the Mother of Tears, and you get some of that exposition, but the film as a whole gets to be its own film. Whereas this movie, I feel like it's trying to beat the lore into your head at times, and then at other times they don't tell you anything. Like it's weird. It's like you get a scene where a gorgeous scene, I will say, of this woman swimming underwater looking for her keys, and it's fantastically shot. And then you'll get a scene of just random exposition where they're just like, exposition, 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 so we can move on. Like, I don't, it's a very weird structured film. like as a whole. And I don't know, maybe I have to rewatch it again because I've heard a lot of people say they don't care for it the first time they watch it, and then upon repeat viewings, they kind of garner a love for it after a while. And that could be the case. Like I don't doubt that. There's a lot of Argento films like that. Trauma is one of those films. Like first time you see Trauma, you're like, man, this is a little bit boring and not much happens. And then I don't know, on repeat viewings, I kind of garner more love for the film. I really like Ajia's performance. I really like Ajia's body, of course, or boobs, of course. Let's be honest here. And I always really liked how like kind of batshit crazy the killer was, decapitating people and shit with the machine. Like I always thought that was really weird. The reveal of the killer is fucking batshit too. Hell, even the kill of the killer is really batshit. Like that's one of those movies. I don't know, it grows on me every time I watch it. And maybe Inferno will get there. I've seen the movie about 3, 4 times. I still, I guess I kind of still feel the same on it. I think it's a good film, but I do think at points it's a little style over substance, and I do think it is lacking a little bit something that Suspiria and dare I say it, I know people will want to lynch me, but Mother of Tears, I think has. I think it's missing a little bit something that the first and final entries of this trilogy has, and it surprises me because usually, the second film of a trilogy is able to, okay, we have everything established and now we can just go on and be our own film. Whereas this is kind of the reverse. I think Suspiria is the movie that just kind of goes on and is his own movie. Whereas Inferno is kind of the movie where it's like, oh shit, let's explain this, that, and the other thing. And like, I don't know, like I could be, crazy. I could be mistaken. I could be, going off on a limb here. But that's kind of how I feel about Inferno as a whole. The movie it's a little bit jumbled with its storytelling at times. Like at one point, you're following the character of Rose, and oh no, I'm sorry, not Rose, Sarah, and she's kind of trying to figure this stuff out. She's renting the books out of the library, and of the three mothers, and trying to figure out the origin. And then about halfway through the film, she gets killed off, and then the focus switches to her brother, who's in New York. And that's where the mother of darkness is, and stuff like that. And like that's that, I feel like that kind of switch is a little bit awkward, a little bit forced, because with Suspiria and with Mother of Tears, you just have the same lead throughout. You have Jessica Harper in Suspiria, you have Asia Argento in Mother of Tears. But this movie, you kind of have half of the first half of the movie with one girl, and then the second half of the movie with her brother. So like I don't know, like it's a hard time for me to get to like our lead character, whereas I don't think you should have killed her off. I guess maybe that was him going for a shock value kill. Maybe it was him going for, now we're going to try a male lead, because I know Tenebrae has a male lead, and this movie is all about this writer who writes a book called Tenebrae. And I mean, this movie, I would say this movie's miles better than Inferno too, but it's not that he didn't do the male lead right or anything like that. I just feel like it's very random and just out of place. It's a shock kill where I don't know if we specifically needed one. Like I actually wish he had stuck in with the cliche final girl trope, because it always really works, especially if you have a good actress and an actress that's easy on the eyes. Like that stuff, it no matter how old it is, it's been going on since the history of, time has been recorded. And that's why I think, she would have worked better as the lead throughout the whole film. And if you're not going to have her as the lead throughout the whole film, have him be the lead throughout the whole film. Like the brother sister element doesn't work either, because they're really never together. They're writing each other letters throughout the film. So I'm just kind of like, there's no chemistry here. They're writing letters to each other, so there's no bond really. It could just easily been her boyfriend. It could have just easily been, you know, some fucking pen pal. I don't know. Like it could have been just as easily somebody else. And that's why I don't really feel it as much as I felt some other Argento films and with their leads. I know it's a weird nitpick, but it is something that always kind of got to me with this film. But I'm talking a lot of negatives here. Let me talk some positives. I got to say, this movie is actually almost, if not more gorgeous than Suspiria. Like I said before, those underwater shots, just gorgeous. Just some of the scenes of her in a fucking library, renting out a book, are breathtaking, are encapsulated. There are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scenes in this movie. And again, you have some more great murder scenes. You have this scene where this guy gets killed by this river, and these fucking rats come out of nowhere, just start eating him alive as he's laying in the river, screaming for help, screaming for his life. Awesome, awesome stuff. A really classic Argento kill. You get these two people, like after Sarah and this other guy, they after finding out like some more stuff about the three mothers, they get brutally slain, and the blood and the vibrancy of the blood really pops bright in this movie. I love the look of it. Um, I gotta be honest, the Keith Emerson score is not my favorite. I got that he wanted to get a little bit away from Goblin and give it a different feel because he didn't want to do a cut copy and paste of the score from Suspiria. However, this almost feels like the score in this almost feels like a nod to Suspiria. It's almost just like at the end, the final song you hear in the movie is uh it's like this kind of do 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 Suspiria. And like I'm just like, really, Keith Emerson? Like I listen, I like Keith Emerson. I actually have a hell of a lot of respect for the guy. But I don't know, for some reason here, I don't feel like the score worked. It felt like it was very forced to me. It wasn't one of my classic favorite Argento scores. I wouldn't say it's anywhere near Tenebre's score, Opera's score, Phenomena. What a score Phenomena has. I love that fucking score, man. I want to be buried with that score and a fucking Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew on the right and the Phenomena score on the left, right? Like just like this. Um, that would be peace, total peace, man. I'd just send up into fucking wherever the hell I'm supposed to go, right? But yeah, man, I just think that score did not fit this film overall. Like it really, I wanted to like it, and upon repeat viewings, I'm like, you're gonna like it this time. Like, shut up. Like it's Keith Emerson. You're gonna like it. And then I don't. At the end of the day, like I just don't think it fit. I liked Goblin doing that score. I think Goblin should have been brought back because after with Suspiria they did Dawn of the Dead, and that's my favorite score of all time and my favorite movie of all time. So to not bring them back. I got that it was a stylistic, we don't want to sound the same. But at the end of the day, it's like Keith Emerson was like, oh, well, I'm going to tribute and homage, and it sounds the same anyway. And I don't know, it just didn't work for me. Just did not work for me. I feel bad like bashing the score, but it's not my favorite score in the world. Um, I do really think the finale is fantastic. Like every time I rewatch this film, I really do look forward to the finale because I think it's really scary and badass. He basically the brother of Sarah, Mark, he kind of goes down into this apartment in New York City in this like big hotel, and the mother of darkness is sitting there at the table, and there's this really good little conversation between the two, and she's kind of behind him as this fire starts behind her, and she looks at him and she goes, "We are death." And he's like, "What?" And she starts running towards him. She's like, "We are death," and runs through this plane of glass. And I shit you not, she's death personified. She's a giant ass Grim Reaper fucking skeleton. And I remember the first time I watched this, like, I fucking jumped out of my shoes. I was like, holy shit, like, oh my God, like, I didn't see that shit coming. And I thought that was really, really, really well done. Love that reveal at the end where the mother of darkness is death personified. I think that's a really, really fun little finale scene there where she bursts through the pane of glass, stone cold Steve Austin style, right? And chases Mark, and this building starts to crumble and burn down around Mark as he gets out of the burning building. And then we hear the closing score of Suspiria, and the credits roll. And I gotta say, I'm with the majority on this one. I kind of think this is not as good of a follow-up as it could have been overall, but I can't deny that the movie as a whole is just so gorgeous, and I think there are things about it that really work. I think at times it can be a little bit confusing as to what's going on. Some exposition scenes just seem to be in there just to be in there, and at times I feel like it's not able to be a film on its own, where Suspiria and Mother of Tears are able to do that. I'd say a little bit better than this one. It's a hard film for me to rate. I do like it overall, but I do have tremendous amount of problems with it. So I'm gonna actually come in pretty a lot lower than you'd expect. I'm gonna come in at a 6.5 out of 10 on this one. Not one of my favorite Argento films. Like all the ones I talked about before, I probably like a little bit better than this one, but I do think it cannot be, stated that this movie is gorgeous and it's right up there with how it looks on a level with Suspiria. It's on that pedestal with the look of the film. It looks great. And it is scary in moments, and it does have those brutal, crazy, over the top death scenes like Suspiria and Mother of Tears have. So it does fit in this trilogy really well. But I will say that of the three, it's probably my least favorite one. And I know a lot of people probably right now punching their goddamn computer and saying, of these 3, that's your least favorite one? Unfortunately, yes, it is. I can't lie. I know it's more beautiful than the next film, and I know that it probably has the more classic feel of, the 2 movies and the one I'm gonna talk about next, but I gotta say, man, of the 3, this one shocked me the most, and it is none other than Dario Argento's Mother of Tears, the unrated cut. Make sure if you ever, oh, sorry, I get confused with this camera. If you ever get this on DVD, make sure you get the unrated cut because some of the fucking kills in this movie are insane. I will say that right off the bat. But I want to give a little bit of a background of this one and my history with the film because I had kind of after I would say, oh geez, I guess this came out around 2007, but I would assume myself around 2014, 2015, so about 5, 6 years ago. I had really been on an Argento kick. I had been watching all these movies and stuff that I talked about before. I had watched the Masters of Horror episodes that Dario Argento did. Of course, Jennifer and Peltz, two of the best episodes of that entire series. I love both Argento episodes, especially Peltz with Meatloaf. I think that's a great Masters of Horror episode. But all I had heard about this film, and I am not kidding you, I did not hear one person that liked it. And all I heard was, this is terrible. This is a disgrace. This is a absolute piece of shit. All this stuff like that. So I, honest to God, being on the kick that I was on, I decided I was like, you know what? I don't want to see this guy at his worst. I'm going to avoid the movie. And mind you, I had seen movies at this point called like Argento's Sleepless, like Argento's The Card Player, like Do You Like Hitchcock? I'd seen some of his worst work. Hell, I'd seen Giallo and Dracula 3D at this point. And a lot of people I know were saying how, lame this was and how disappointing this was. And I was just like so disheartened by that. So I held off. I held off on it until last October, where I finally said, you know what? I'm going to just nut up, shut up, and watch this movie for what it is and see if I agree with the majority, disagree, whatever. I bought it on Amazon. I paid really stupid money for it. And I'm not going to lie, by the end of the movie, I kind of was looking around like, how the hell did people hate this movie? Like, if you love what Argento is about, if you love, the Three Mothers trilogy, I don't see how you can hate this movie. I think, okay, it doesn't look like Suspiria. It does not look like Inferno. It does not have the great score or look that those two movies have. I get that. I'm not, stupid or ignorant or whatever. However, it is so fucking fun. And it has great batshit crazy kills. It has a very beautiful lead in Miss Asia Argento. And I would argue this is the best she ever looked in this movie. She looks even better than in Land of the Dead or hell, even Trauma. She's gorgeous, man. She's really gorgeous to look at. I feel like this is a movie where Argento really returned to form, and like I know that coming off those early 2000 films, it was kind of shaky in the water. And then when Jennifer and Peltz came out, I thought those were two awesome return to forms for Argento, two awesome movies, getting Claudio Simonetti back to do the Jennifer music, and then going into this to finally finish off the trilogy that he started in 1977, 30 years earlier, I got to say, I was more than happy with this movie. I thought this movie was so much fucking fun. And I thought that it was gorgeous in its own way. And the biggest knock you hear about this movie is that it's not reminiscent of this movie. It's not reminiscent of Suspiria. It's its own thing, and that's what people say. Oh well, this is worthless and all this stuff, and this is a disgrace to end the trilogy like this. And I just don't. I don't see that, man. I see a really, really good movie, really, really solid movie. Basically, this discusses the third mother, the mother of tears, Mother Lachirium. I might botch that pronunciation, but bear with me. It's the mother of tears, right? And it's 27 years after the events of Inferno, and Asia Argento is slowly but surely being exposed to this third mother who's going around killing people in all these batshit crazy ways that I love. You have certain people like losing their minds. They start to lose their minds slowly but surely. You have a scene in this movie, I'm not even kidding, in the first 10 minutes, where this woman, she has her baby in a carriage, she has a baby in her arms, and she throws her baby off the bridge and into a fucking river. Like, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, holy shit. Like, I remember rewinding it like 3 or 4 times when I first watched it. Like, first 2 times, I'm just like, my eyes pop out of my head. And then the next few times I start laughing. I'm just like, holy shit. Like, that's ballsy, man. But you gotta love it. It's just so batshit crazy Argento. I liked to see him go back to that batshit crazy style of killing people, man. There's such brutal kills in this film. I love there's a kill where this guy has this kind of tool where he bends it 2 ways and stabs the one right in between the eyes, and he pulls out, and both her eyes are just gone, man. Super gory kill. This is a really gory film. And you have a scene where Udo Kier actually comes back and he's giving exposition to Asia Argento, and he gets a meat cleaver to the face. And like, if you think 1 or 2 or 3 whacks is enough, try like 10 to 15 whacks of a meat cleaver to the face. Just whack, whack, whack. It does not stop. And the gore, you can almost taste the blood. That's how much fucking blood there is in that particular death scene. And I'm just sitting here, I'm like, and people don't like this movie. This movie shows some of the most brutal fucking kills you've ever seen in any film, let alone an Argento movie. And like, I don't know, man. I'll take this. I'll take this any day over movies that cut kills away or hold back on the gore. Argento did not hold back with anything on this, and I do think, for what it's worth, I know people will think I'm crazy. I do think this movie has a decent atmosphere. Is it as good as the first 2 films' atmospheres? No. Even though I like this better than Inferno, Inferno's atmosphere is better. But you got to admit, at the time in those 2 movies were made, I would say Argento was in his prime. Like, I heard one reviewer on here say, and I agree with this wholeheartedly, was your, 60th birthday as fun as your 20th birthday? No. No, the 20th birthday, you're in the prime of your youth. You're fucking, hunting down some good, pretty ladies. In your 60s, man, you're fucking playing shuffleboards. Fucking, you can't eat any food that's too hot. You can't drink your tea if it's too hot. You fucking, you're done at that point. But to make a movie as kick fucking ass as this at that age, my hat's off. I bow. I get down on my knees and fucking bow to you, my dude, because this is what it's all about. I dare to say that John Carpenter, after his prime, never made a movie as good as Mother of Tears. I dare to say that George Romero, his final 3 Dead films, none of them are as fucking fun and batshit and awesome as this movie. None of them. I could go on forever. This is miles better than shit like My Soul to Take and fucking Scream 4. Even though I do like Scream 4, but this movie, it showed me that Argento still had it. There was still something there. He still had something to bring to the table. And maybe with Giallo and Dracula 3D, he lost whatever that was. Maybe this was the last time we really got to see the true colors and true, uh, you know, reasons why Argento is a master of horror. However, I gotta say that I think he held out longer than any of them. I really do. And I think there's one or two scenes in this movie that, again, I had a moment like what I did with Suspiria where I had to pause the film just because I was in such awe of how beautiful it was. There's a scene towards the end, and it's a scene that I don't know how long I'll talk about it because I'm almost at a loss for words of what to say about it. There's a scene towards the end of the film, right before the third act, like the beginning of the third act, where Asia Argento finds out where the third mother is staying, and she walks up to this gate, and we get a wide angle of Asia Argento approaching this gate. You see, the building, and then the night blue sky, and you see she looks at the gate and slowly opens it. You hear the creak of the gate, and you get this close up of Asha's face again with the blue tint, and she looks terrified for about 5 seconds. Her face screams terror, and I will have that as the thumbnail of this video. That is the thumbnail of this video because it's arguably my favorite shot in all three of these movies. And she looks terrified for that moment, and then we move on from there. I remember pausing the movie the first time I saw it, and I said, "That's why." I just said that those two words. That's why. And what I meant was that's why Dario Argento was the greatest to ever do it. It's a simple scene like that. It's a simple scene that you don't even need in there, but it adds everything. It adds atmosphere. It adds character development. This is an actress, not an actress. This is a lead character that is scared. She's scared shitless of what we're about to see in this final act. It's a building of what we want to see in our horror films, a perfect start to a build of a third act of a fucking movie. And it has the atmosphere that almost drips off the screen and onto your lap. I think it's one of the best scenes in any Argento film, and I know that people beg to differ, but it was in that one moment where I said that I almost, how in wrestling they chant, "You still got it." I proverbially wanted to chant that because he still had it. He still got it, and I don't know, man. Like it's sometimes I get those moments as a horror fan, and like I won't lie, those highs are few and far between. I'm not stupid. I'm not easy to please. I'll be honest. I could be a tough, mean son of a bitch towards a film sometimes. I'm not afraid to say that, you know. But when I do get those highs, they're just so sweet, man. They're just so damn sweet. And that particular scene in this movie was a high I have not felt in a long time. I don't know when. I know people like to put dates on stuff, but I don't know, man. I had chills in that moment. And again, the proverbial, you still got it, Argento. And like, I don't know. I know people fucking don't like this movie. Whatever. In my opinion, this is, and I'm not trying to say that you're crazy or trying to insult you if you don't. Um, However, if you like Argento's films that I talked about before, I don't see how you don't like this. Okay, some brief negatives. There is some bad CGI in this movie. I got that. I understand that. However, most of the fucking kills are practical gore effects and they're badass. And I really like the finale of Aja taking the Mother of Tears clothes off, throwing them in the fire, and then all hell breaks loose as this place doesn't burn down; it starts to crumble down. And the Mother of Tears gets impaled, and Aja is trying to get out of there. She gets the male in the film. They burst to the top just in the nick of time, and they look at each other and they just start to laugh, and the film ends. The trilogy ends. I think that's a perfect ending of the trilogy because you have the first film, it ends where the girl walks out, she's laughing as the building goes up in flames. The second film, you have him run out, the hotel is up in flames, kind of watching it. You get the Keith Emerson store that I'm so on. And then this film where Aja comes up, the sun seems like it's about to start rising. They laugh, the film cuts away, and that's the end of the Three Mothers trilogy. a very unpopular opinion, I love this fucking movie. I think this is a great horror film, and this is a movie that I would put in my top 10 Argento films. I really would. I think this is great stuff. I'm going to come in at a 9 out of 10, possibly the highest score this movie probably ever gotten, but I love it. I think it's classic textbook Dario Argento, and it's the reason why I love horror. Like when I think, when I think of classic horror, obviously this movie comes to mind, and movies that will stand the test of time. I got that. But when I think of moments of why I love the genre, it's movies like this. It's movies that people don't give the credit to, that I can find something in that puts me in a place where I get to be a kid again, or I get to love the genre for its simplistic values again. Can't beat it, ladies and gentlemen. You simply can't beat it. You can't beat that feeling because they happen so few and far between each other. Oh, my good buddy Nate has checked in. Oh, no worries. Don't be sorry. What are you kidding? Heard Mother of Tears was bad, but when you said it was good, I'm like, Honestly, Nate, if I could recommend any of these three movies to you, I know you've seen Suspiria. I'd recommend Mother of Tears over Inferno. I know that's crazy, but that's that way I feel. Dario can show images and visuals you'll never forget, dude. And all these movies that I've talked about have those. That's the beauty of it. I noted when I was watching Suspiria, especially the third act, had the atmosphere that seemed to suck me in. It was so eerie and creepy. Dude, yeah, that's the thing. Like, even if the exposition in these movies, because there is exposition in all three, but it's not the reason I watch them, man. It's really not. It's for that eerie, creepy feeling and the beautiful, vibrant colors and the beautiful death scenes. He was able to kind of change the formula a little bit and make the films watchable, but for different reasons. And that's another reason why he really stands out as a master of horror. I give Suspiria a 7 out of 10. Solid horror film. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Totally enjoy it too, man. One of my favorites of all time. I did give it a 10. I did give it a 10 on here. I can't lie. I am a mark for it. But to recap for everything, I gave Suspiria 10 out of 10. I gave Inferno 6.5 out of 10. It's one that maybe I need to keep rewatching. I feel like when the true Argento fans watch this, they'll probably tell me I'm wrong and crazy for not putting Inferno over Mother of Tears. But hey, that's just my opinion. I totally respect if you guys like Inferno more. I guess maybe you can also factor in that I went into Mother of Tears, thinking it was going to be terrible, and then I was thoroughly surprised. So maybe that bumps the score up a little bit. I don't know. I'm not, I don't have any rules or set things when I go into this, but and then Mother of Tears, obviously, I gave a 9 out of 10. I really love Mother of Tears. So that is the Three Mothers trilogy. Of course, the Mother of Sighs, the Mother of Darkness, and the Mother of Tears, baby. The grandmother of them all, baby. This was a really fun episode. I love talking all things Argento. I figure, throughout this video, I was thinking, how could I keep talking Argento films? I figured maybe I'll come back and talk like three Argento films at a time, just like this. Maybe not films that are trilogies, but films that he did. Obviously, I could do the Three Animal trilogy. I could do that. But also, I mean, I've wanted to talk about this movie on the show for a long time. So like, I would love to talk. Maybe I do. Let's see, like three Giallos. All three of these movies are Giallo films. I would love to fucking do a stream, 1 hour stream talking about these. I didn't think this would go an hour, but it goes to show you how much of a fucking Dario Argento mark I am. I can't help it though, ladies and gents. I can't help it though. So I will definitely be talking Argento again. Awesome stream, man. Sorry I couldn't have arrived earlier. I'll watch the rest of the stream later. I rewatched your Gates of Hell stream recently. It was awesome. Dude, thank you so much for joining at all, man. Dude, if you stay for 1 second or an hour, 2 minutes and 44 seconds, I still appreciate your time. So thank you, man. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. So cheers to you, Mr. Horrorboy. Here's cheers to everybody that watched, even if it was for 5 minutes. I was by myself for a lot of this, but it gave me more and more time to myself to gush about, I think, arguably the best to ever do it, and that's Mr. Dario Argento. So that's going to be all for the show today. That's going to be all for the graveyard today. Had a super fun time talking all things Argento. And yeah, I got to get to work sometime soon. So I will be doing that. And yeah, I will definitely, if people are interested in seeing the trilogy, like Argento trilogy shows, or just, three Argento films, that's what I'm going to be doing. So cheers. Yep. Cheers to you, my friend. Too sweet. I'm going to cut this here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Long live Dario Argento. Too sweet. And the gates of the graveyard are closed for today. Peace, guys.